Can a mirrored RAID-1 disk be plugged into another system to be read? If I have disks in a RAID-1 array, can I take one of them out and plug it into a different system to be read? This means, on the target system, treating the disk from the RAID array just like an ordinary disk, regardless of any controller/driver support and without doing any rebuilding. The idea is that if my array of 2 disks degrades, I can plug it into a different system and don't have to get another disk of the same capacity, which gets harder as time passes, and, hopefully, even without access to the original system, in the event that the controller or motherboard goes bad instead of one of the disks.
Regardless of any controller/driver. Disregarding RAID implementation? Then the answer should generally be no. You cannot assume that all hardware controllers treat disks in such a transparent way. However, in the case of software RAID in Linux, MD plus RAID-1, then yes, there's no disk header or secret block level optimization going on there. In the case of disk mirroring in Windows, it involves the disk having been initialized as dynamic and, well, should just work, given that the system that reads it can understand the dynamic volumes. In other words, it will most likely only be accessible from another system running Windows. In the end, you can try connecting the disk regardless of controller. If it works, it works. No controller will damage the data on the disk as long as you don't tell it to, i.e. as long as you don't execute an operation such as initialize or anything.
Only if things are the same, same RAID controller, or the same kind of software RAID supported, I would expect that any software RAID created today would be supported in the future, but the deprecated stuff may well go away at some point. Switching between hardware RAID can be finicky.
You won't necessarily be able to access the disk as just a normal disk, but you should be able to instruct your local system to access it as part of a degraded RAID-1 array and read the data just fine. If you need to do this and are using hardware RAID, you would need the same kind of card, or in case of software RAID you would need the same software. Note that some implementations make it look like the disk is a normal disk with a normal disk header, but I would be very wary of just using it as is. The RAID information might conceivably be tucked in there somewhere and ruin your day.
I had this issue and the following worked for me. I took one of the RAID 0 disks, created under Windows, and plugged it into the internal SATA port of another machine. It happened to be the same spec machine, but I think given that it is a Windows mirror it would be the same everywhere. In Launch Disk Management by right-clicking my computer, found the disk which had a yellow warning sign on it, and was labeled Foreign Disk. I right-clicked the drive and chose Import Foreign Disk. Done. PS. It was not possible to do this by attaching the drive via USB. I had to go through the internal SATAs for the option Import Foreign Disk to be available.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.